right, we got a few game teases for Marvel, some Sonic leaks that we need to talk about, and a ton of Xbox news that is all over the place. Let's just get started with the game news. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Yay. All right. So let's just get started with something I thought was kind of weird. PlayStation Stars, which is a rewards program that PlayStation has, gets rewarded with virtual goods. I'm not a PlayStation owner. I don't know exactly how the program works, but Jim Ryan, I think his last day is very soon or has already passed. Bad at keeping up with this stuff. But PlayStation Stars has a digital bobblehead of Jim Ryan as a way for players to celebrate the man, the myth, the legend himself. It's neat. It's kind of weird all at the same time. I think it's funny. So yeah, let me know if you guys use PlayStation Stars. I found this hilarious. I don't know. It's just one of those odd things that exists. But a digital bobblehead reward. It's just funny. I thought it looked funny. Anyway, let's move on. Final Fantasy IX, my first Final Fantasy, has been rumored for a remake for a while. Like the Square Enix teams have been doing various things to tease Final Fantasy IX being remade, and now we have a little more weight behind that in another tease. This is courtesy of Game Infinitus reporting on this during the Final Fantasy 14 panel at PAX East 2024. Producer Naoki Yoshida teased the possible existence of a Final Fantasy IX remake. He's revealed that those who pre-order Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail expansion will receive a miniature version of Final Fantasy IX's protagonist, Zidane, as an adventuring companion, which looks adorable. Now, there's been a lot of teasing and things that have been going on. Little hints, nods towards Final Fantasy IX. We had the NVIDIA GeForce Now leak, which is infamous at this point for just how much information we got about upcoming projects and games and things. There's been just rumors that the game has been worked on and it's not a giant remake, rather more of a remaster. Or here, Jeff Grubb's take on it is it's somewhere between Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Reunion, which is like an up-resed re-release with better visuals, better frame rate, some modernization, but the core game remains unchanged. And Final Fantasy VII Remake, which totally revamps Final Fantasy VII. Gameplay style, visuals, and everything else associated with it. So somewhere between there, that's a lot of room for differences in combat and everything. We don't know anything about it, except that at this point, if it doesn't happen or release, I would be thoroughly surprised. I need this to be real. Almost as bad as I need a Chrono Trigger remake to be real, except I need them to do Chrono Trigger justice. And who knows now if they would even do that. I don't know. It's been desired for so long, I highly doubt it even exists at this point. But Final Fantasy IX coming would be fantastic. It is, again, my first Final Fantasy that admittedly I've never finished, but would love to. All right, let's move on to a Sonic rumor. So Sonic Toys Party was leaked online. And we have let's go to the post on X. We can look at it all together. Hopefully it's not gonna be too terrible. All right, so let's just watch this trailer together. You guys can tell me what you think. I'm gonna turn the volume down because it's gonna be a little loud. I think it looks neat. The music is a bop. Hopefully the music doesn't get my channel in trouble. So if anyone can tell me what they noticed from this trailer, you'll be the winner. How long is it? It's got another 30 seconds. It's super loud in my ears. Good Lord. All right. So then it cuts to another thing. All right. So we have just a variety of levels and challenges and things. You got a feel for what's going on here, right? So let's jump back over here. So this game is looking like Fall Guys, but all Sonic, which is fine. Fall Guys is a very fun game, and my favorite levels in Fall Guys are the more platformy, jumpy levels. And so having a Sonic themed version of that is pretty awesome. Of course, there's a catch though, right? There's always a catch. It looks like a mobile only title. It was just a big old womp womp in my book. I don't mind mobile games. I think if you play games on mobile and you enjoy it, that's perfectly fair. I cannot stand touchscreen controls. Now, if it turns out to be an Apple Arcade release, well, hey, I might actually play it because all the games on Apple Arcade, one, work on Mac OS, and two, support controllers. So we could play that way. That might be more fun. I'm very much looking forward to what actually comes of this. Apparently, this has been in development for a while and has seen some closed testing. And so this trailer being leaked, again, my channel could get in trouble. I hope not, but could get in trouble for showing it. I think it looks fun though. Multiplayer, like battle royale style platforming. I like Fall Guys a lot. I should play it more on stream, but a Sonic themed version of that looks super cool. All right, let's move on. This is kind of bad news, and considering we're playing this game tonight, I considered changing games last minute, but let's just read it. Overwatch 2 devs received 0% of profit sharing bonuses this month. So basically, wait, is this an old article? No, this is like recently, last week, March 22nd, 2024. Basically, developers are receiving 0% of their bonus targets this March. It's usually Blizzard employees receive their profit sharing bonuses because the games at Blizzard do really well. They're very popular. Blizzard is known for making good quality, high quality games that do sell well. And then the services, WoW and Hearthstone. And I'm assuming at some point of that, Diablo 4 makes up a percentage of sales and microtransactions and things. Those things pay out. But the Overwatch 2 devs have apparently not received any of their incentive due to the game's poor financial performance, which means Battle Pass and microtransactions aren't working. I think people are burned out on Battle Passes as a whole. A lot of the Overwatch community did not want the Overwatch 2 transition. The free-to-play model can work. I thought it would be good for getting more people in the game, but I think the way they are doing the Battle Pass and all of the rotating content, it's just not as rewarding as Overwatch 1 has ever felt. Overwatch 1 with loot boxes and all. I at least felt like I was able to get some of the event cosmetics without just buying them. You had a random chance, you could save up gold. There was a lot of opportunity there. I think people are just burnt out on games full of skins and $20 microtransaction charges and all these things that are just cosmetic. They don't, you can't have a multiplayer game where you buy, I mean, you could, but you don't want a multiplayer game where you're buying all this player advantage. You want skins, you got to keep it fair. So cosmetics, things that don't impact the gameplay but allow character customization. Unfortunately, the model is all the same. Fortnite, Halo, Overwatch 2, list a game that has a battle pass, and I guarantee you it's got a $20 skin bundle every few weeks or every week. It's got some $5 and $2 purchases as well that aren't as good, but are still there for people to get their fix, I guess. And I just think it's fatigue. I think we're at a point now where nobody is wanting to pay this money for these things. And it sucks for the devs because they're still having to work on this stuff. They're still maintaining the game. People are still playing the game, myself included. I thoroughly enjoy Overwatch and don't want to see the game die off. But they can't keep missing these bonuses and be encouraged to still make the game. I think that's just going to lead to even worse morale, and I'm kind of bummed out by it. I think it's just unfortunate that it's this way, but this is how it works. This is what happens when you try to force people to constantly shell out dollars for a product, eventually they're going to turn their focus to something else, either more rewarding or something else that they can either, buy once, or there's so many things. And then there's so many games now that just are stuck in a battle pass model that nobody wants to engage with. I don't say nobody, because I mean Fortnite's still making money. Overwatch is apparently still making enough money to stick around, but that may not be the case for much longer, even with them crossing, a player count milestone next month or next season, I believe is what they said in the stories we covered last week. So it's just weird. It's unfortunate. I would definitely be discouraged as a dev if this were like happening, to me. And I'm working my rear end off, but it's not working out. But I think it's just this is just a state of the industry. Halo got away from the seasonal models. Now they're doing their free operations. So no paid battle pass per se, just smaller incremental things that you can buy a premium version of, but it's not anywhere near what the battle pass was. But you can get them at any time. I think if Overwatch adopted the Halo model in that sense, more people would probably shell out for microtransactions, because the battle pass isn't temporary. It would be permanent. You can just work on it whenever you want. That'd be good for somebody like me who doesn't play. It's not the only game I play. I play a lot of other games, Anyway, let's move on to some Marvel announcements. Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. Okay, I haven't seen the whole trailer. I've seen clips, but this is a 2-minute trailer that we can watch. Again, I haven't seen the whole thing. So this is looking good though. Ooh. Hmm. Man, it just looks good. Mm-hmm. Oh, it looks so good. It's just okay. So that's all Unreal Engine 5, I believe. It's coming out next year. Looks awesome. I haven't been a big fan of like recent Marvel stuff. Just overall doesn't seem interesting. This looks great. I like the visual style. The setting is super interesting. I like the alternate history approach, the World War II setting. Like, oh, it's gonna be so good. Hopefully the writing is good. The gameplay should be solid. I'm really hoping for like a 2-hero kind of approach. You play as Black Panther or Captain America, and then their stories like just cross over. Oh, it's gonna be so good. I hope it's not like a I'd like it to be like 2 separate campaigns instead of them like doing like the same levels and you just swap out. Like think like like how like Sonic Adventure 2 worked, where you had like the hero side and the dark side, and you played as both, and they had their own set of levels. And then at the end, there was like the final push where they teamed up. Oh, it'd be so good. So we'll see what's coming. Marvel 1943, Rise of Hydra. Looks fantastic. This was shown last week. It came out of nowhere for me. Like I haven't been keeping up with this stuff. Had no idea. So on the Marvel train here, we've also got new Marvel game will be revealed tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time. And we got this really nifty looking visual here, which leads to another rumor and pointing at like this image evokes Overwatch vibes. And that's important because an Overwatch style Marvel game is coming soon. This is courtesy of thestreamer.com. It's a 6v6 shooter and will be announced. This is what it's looking like tomorrow. Like, I'm pretty sure it's going to be there. It looks kind of cool. Like, the idea sounds cool. I like playing Overwatch. I like hero shooters. I don't know if the genres maybe seen like its peak, and maybe this is too little too late, but this could be a good revival for the PvP shooter genre. Hero, what is it? Hero shooter? Is it what it's called? I don't know. This looks awesome though. Or the idea sounds awesome. If this is an official graphic for the game, I mean, you can kind of see what kind of heroes we're going to have available. I hope it's not just mobile. I hope it's console, PC. That seems kind of important to me to have that available. But you can kind of look and see the outlines of, the silhouettes of some heroes here. I mean, you got Iron Man up in the top. I would assume this is Rocket Raccoon, but we'll see. That's probably Loki. It's cool. I'm excited for that. We'll see what's coming up next. All right, let's move on. Let's move into all of this Xbox news because it starts off with like some smaller stuff. Xbox has reached an agreement with Crash Bandicoot, Spyro Dev, Toys for Bob for their new game. This is courtesy of Jez Gordon over at Windows Central. If we talked about last week, Toys for Bob became an independent studio, leaving the control of Microsoft, Activision Blizzard. And now they said they would be contracting with Microsoft to continue work. I think they went independent to avoid layoffs. If I'm going to be real honest, that seems like a pretty smart move. They can still make games. They just are now like contracted by Microsoft. So they became independent. Source have indicated Toys for Bob's culture didn't gel with Activision's off restrictive corporate mandates. Yeah, so it like makes sense that they moved away, broke off. We talked about this last week, but basically they've now contracted with Microsoft to work on a new game, and they say it will be similar to games Toys for Bob has made in the past. So does that mean another Spyro game, another Crash Bandicoot game? They said to keep your horns on, which is probably Spyro. Lofty expectation here. What if it was a new Banjo-Kazooie game? Because we all want that. Microsoft owns the IP. Toys for Bob has good platformer experience. Let them work on it, please. Microsoft, hear the community. But with the keep your horns on tag there, tease there, it's probably a new Spyro, which is great. Spyro is a great franchise, great series of games. Definitely, could use a fresh entry. I think it would be awesome. So that's cool. All right, let's move on. Next story. All right, so this one's kind of a bummer. Insider Gaming reports publishers worried about supporting Xbox moving forward. This is from a report from the head of gamesindustry.biz, Chris Dring. The predominant feeling around last week's GDC was the status of Microsoft and Xbox. The other thing I heard it from a very prominent company and one not so prominent, was Xbox's performance in Europe is just flatlining. He continued, you can follow our monthly coverage in the games market and you can see that Xbox sales are falling, and it's been falling all throughout last year, and it's falling even harder this year. The phrase one major company who released a big game last year said was, I don't know why we bothered supporting it. Lastly, it was mentioned that third-party publishers view the market right now as PC and PS5. And this is specifically like, around European sales. But if we look at how things have worked in the past, um, what we can see is when this sentiment starts going around, it's a little bit of a bummer. And then you look at Microsoft hasn't really been advertising the Xbox a whole lot. There's no, major games like right around the corner. I think we got Hellblade 2, which is huge in its own right. I'm not trying to discount that, but think about the calendar for the rest of the year, what's coming out, and then what are we looking forward to? Halo feels like it's in a weird spot. Forza, the newest one, it's doing okay, I assume. I don't know where they are. That's the problem. There are things being done, but it just feels like Microsoft just is not talking about it. And history has shown us when Microsoft stops talking about a product or a service, the writing is almost on the wall that it's going to get axed or shelved or something's going to happen. However, they didn't buy Activision Blizzard to stop making Xboxes, right? That just kind of leads into the next couple of stories we have. But it is concerning that Microsoft's push has really not been felt. They say they're still committed to hardware. We had all the drama at the beginning of March with games, coming to PlayStation and Switch. And then, are they still making hardware? Are they still making consoles? We have all the leaks about the new controller and new revision on the Xbox. And it's just weird because then on the flip side of it, we know there's another Switch coming. We know for sure there's another PlayStation coming. They talked about PS6, at least in regards of it being in development. And then we have heavy rumors of the PS5 Pro coming out at the end of the year. And so what does this mean right now? Like, Microsoft hasn't really been talking about what's next. And it's just really strange to me. Why did that just go away? Thank you. All right. Opened up notifications just for those to hover around. All right. Hopefully that wasn't like doxing myself there. Anyway, so this goes to our nenext story. Handheld Xbox, Microsoft's gaming chief can't stop thinking about it. This is courtesy of Polygon, who talked to Phil Spencer. He's, according to this, Phil Spencer's tried all the new PC gaming handhelds, the ROG Ally, Lenovo Legion Go, the Steam Deck. He's impressed, but he can't shake one question. How would he make them more Xbox? Spencer says in the interview, I want my Lenovo Legion Go to feel like an Xbox. I brought the Legion Go with me to GDC. I'm on the airplane, and I had this list of everything that makes it not feel like an Xbox. Forget about the brand. More like, are all of my games there? Do all my games show up with save files that I want? I'll tell you, one game that doesn't right now, it's driving me crazy, is Fallout 76. It doesn't have cross-save, which would be kind of neat if they were doing a cross-save for Fallout 76 at some point. That'd be kind of cool. That pushes the devs to do that, but who knows? Anyway, I want to be able to boot into the Xbox app in a full screen, but in a compact mode, which I believe they said is coming. They're working on this, and all of my social experience is there. Like, I want it to feel like the dash of my Xbox when I turn on the television, except I want it on those devices. Which makes sense that, a portable Xbox that could be docked is not only doable, there's no reason to not expect at least an app that does this, right? The hardware is more than capable. The games will run in their PC container. We know cross-save works. We know all of these things about how PC and Xbox games work together. They're basically the same code base, just optimized, one for the console, one for PC. There's so much similarity here. There's no reason that Microsoft can't make this happen, and they really need to capitalize on this, because if my Xbox library could be put on a PC in any form, I would be all about that. Especially one of these portable devices that can dock to a TV, and then now I can have that like PC/console experience, but wherever, and then hook it up to, let's say my stream setup here, and then now PC games aren't like complicated for me, right? It's a 2 PC setup, but in a console-like manner. I think the possibilities there, go well beyond just being able to play Xbox games on any device. I think it just opens up the idea that you can have an Xbox Switch and the hardware really isn't that important, right? Which kind of leads to the next story, but let's go on with this one a little bit. But what should we build that will find new players, Spencer said, that will allow people to play at times when they couldn't go play in the past, which is what I was just talking about. Like if I can bring a Steam Deck with me, but play everything I own across PC, Xbox, Epic Games, Steam, wherever I've got games, even PlayStation, with cloud streaming, like all of that can work together through one device. And if I could play it natively, not streamed, that would be super cool. Spencer says, I like the fact that Valve, Lenovo, and Asus went out and innovated a new form factor. And I will say that when I'm playing on those devices, it almost feels like a console, more like a console than a PC, 9 times out of 10. The things that usually frustrate me are more Windows-based than device-based, which is an area I feel some ownership of. Like, I want to be able to log in with a controller. I've got my list of things we should go do, which is perfect. This kind of thinking is stuff they're probably already working on. Let me have my Xbox sign in on my controller tied to the controller, and then if I hit it on PC while I'm signed in, just like on my Xbox, if I turn it on with my controller, I have it linked, it just signs me into my account, and that's great. But have that like saved to the controller itself. He says, from a creator standpoint, I can then go build a single version of my game that spans more hardware and reaches more customers. And I would say for players, it reduces the friction. Like if I want to go play my console games on the go with a handheld, I don't want to only be able to buy one brand of handheld, right? I want everything that we're doing in the hardware space to be great. But if somebody chooses to go play today somewhere else, I don't want them to feel like a lesser Xbox player. Exactly. It's got to be, with how many people are making these portable consoles, it's got to be a software optimization, licensing optimization. Like you've got to go beyond it's tied to a console, And hopefully they are working on some kind of handheld, either hardware, which would be great. An Xbox handheld would be awesome. A handheld optimized service that I sign into my Xbox account with would also be awesome, where like the dashboard pulls up. I think like Steam Big Picture mode, or how Steam Deck, the native OS works. And so I think something like that is just it's bound to happen. It's gotta happen. They're thinking about it. They're looking at it. It's very obvious. All right, so this is our last Xbox story, but it kind of leads, the hardware option for sure. But then this out of nowhere, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer wants PC gaming stores on Xbox. Head of Microsoft Gaming efforts sees a world where the Epic Games Store and more are available on Xbox consoles. This is courtesy of Windows Central, I think referencing the same Polygon interview. The reason I wanted to point out this article, though, is Spencer talks about consider our history as the Windows company. Nobody would blink twice if I said, hey, when you're using your PC, you get to decide the type of experience you have by picking where to buy games. There's real value in that. So what he's saying is, if you couldn't install Steam or Epic or Origin or whatever else for gaming on your Windows PC, that'd be very frustrating, be very weird. It'd be Mac OS, let's just call it, throw some shade there. But that's kind of how it works, though, on PC. I can go to any store. Now, what if that were on console? Well, then, that would be amazing. The Xbox is already very closely PC architecture. The hardware is very similar. It's just very specialized for running the Xbox OS. But what if, right? What if I could log into my Epic Games account and pull up any of my Epic games and they just run on my Xbox? That would be pretty lit. I would be pretty excited about it. I'd be very excited about that because now the Xbox has more value. Microsoft can probably make more Game Pass deals through these other stores. Think like Game Pass working through Steam, right? Like that would be insane. You could have other deals and specials. I'm sure Microsoft would find a way to make some sort of revenue off of that. But I also think this is on the heels of the recent antitrust lawsuits against Apple for having their App Store monopoly in the EU and the Epic Games Store trying to come out on iOS in Europe. If they've been working on how to get this to work, and Phil Spencer's just kind of like, well, let's just kind of throw that out there and see what people say. It's a way for them to go, well, look, our platform is more open than the others. We have all these other things that work on there, these other stores, and you can bring your game library and you can do what you want, buy games where you want on Xbox. Excuse me. Well, then now you're at a point where that antitrust lawsuit won't affect you because you're already ahead of it, or at least seemingly ahead of it. I don't know if they would actually have a PC store or if it would just be a differently packaged Xbox version, through Epic Games or Steam or whatever they would do. But I feel like with the way the consoles work now and the way the PC architecture is essentially console architecture, the games can jump platforms pretty easily. Obviously, there's builds and certification processes. I'm not trying to minimize the work that goes into a console version of a PC game. What I'm saying is Microsoft would be the one to build tools to just tie all of that together. And I'm very much looking forward to that. I hope that that's the case. So, yep, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to cough and lose my mind, I guess. Anyway, that'll do it for tonight's game news. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Let me know what you think in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitch, we're going to play some Overwatch 2 and kick up the multi-stream. But first, I'm going to take a little break. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, let me know what you guys think of any of these stories, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Game News Show soon. I'm going to play video games now. Bye.